Welcome to Okon Bros. This is Eric.
I'm Michael, and if you want to learn the secrets of the universe, the law of attraction, mysticism, brohood, gambling, movies, pop culture, archangels, magic, good food, business, health, family, and mediumship, smash that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, press the noti icon, and spread this video around like peanut butter and jelly.
I love it. So today we have on Lauren Startt. She is a tested and certified medium whose goal is to simply help others cope with loss. You can check out Lauren Startt with 2 T's at the end for a reading. So first, thank you for coming on, Lauren.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. I was, doing a little bit of research on you, and I went to your website, and I love your frequently asked questions page. You mentioned, I wrote this down. You stated, I don't need you to believe in me or what I do. I do this work to be my authentic self.
All right.
How has mediumship shaped you? And was it an easy journey to do what you're doing now?
Oh, I love that question. So mediumship is just a part of me. It's just a part of who I am. Ever since I was a very young child, I would see spirit. I woke up in the middle of the night and I would see them sitting there, and it freaked me out. And I was raised by 2 parents, one who was very religious, so wasn't accepting of this, considered this the devil's work, and the other side was atheist, so didn't believe in this.
Wow.
So I didn't really have an understanding of it myself, and there was a lot of fear for me that was involved in it because I didn't understand, and I was fed fear, and many of us are fed fear through Hollywood and what we're told what this is, and so it's been a journey of self-discovery for me. And it's not something, I don't think any medium will say they woke up and like, this is what I want to do, and you do this with a lot of courage, and you're definitely brave stepping forward on this journey. That's like in all ways, in all aspects. So for me, that's why I do this, because I know that this is a part of me, and this is something that I know that I'm meant to do and meant to share with other people. So it's definitely been a learning experience, and definitely a part of how I become more authentically myself along the way. And I'm still learning and still growing in that department.
Were you terrified seeing these things in the middle of the night? Were you like, as a child, like,
Yeah.
we've had ghostly encounters, Eric and I, we've seen ghosts, and they're a little creepy, but like, as a child, were you freaking out?
Oh, I freaked out. I am the biggest scaredy cat that you will ever meet.
Really?
Believe it or not, I am such a scaredy cat. So when I was younger, I would hide like my head under the covers, and I didn't want to see anyone, or I didn't want to see anything. Right. So there was a lot of fear in me that I had to, work on, but yes, I was scared. The first person I saw was actually someone that was sitting next to me beside my bed in a chair, and he had like marks, like wound marks all over him. And I was very young, and I didn't understand that. And all he did is look over me and left. And I ran into my parents' room and was like, I'm never having a chair in my room again. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but I put it towards the chair. I'm like, it must be the chair. There's something with the chair. Right. But I was definitely very fearful. I didn't want to be alone. There was a lot of fear, but what I've learned is that as we address that fear, as we move towards that fear, it can become actually our biggest strength and what we're meant to do, So when we face those things, there's a lot of lessons in that.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned on your frequently asked questions again about, is there such thing as demonic entities, and you said you've never felt anything but light, but you've kind of felt people or souls that are just further away from the light. Can you explain what that feels like? Is it just less vivid, or just start from there?
It kind of feels like so we all come across different people and different types of people in our lifetime, right? Some are high vibrating people who are light workers who are here, and then other people, they struggle. There's a struggle there, right? And that's what it feels like for me. It's different personalities, different challenges that they've experienced in life. But it's, I've never experienced, I know that there's negative, energy here in the physical world, but for me, it's all lessons on the other side. And that's how they kind of show me. And we have different levels of vibration and different levels of, where our souls are. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that correctly, but, but there's different levels, and so I can feel the different levels. Sometimes when I have a very high vibrating soul that steps forward, oh my gosh, it's so easy to connect with them. They come through me, and it's almost like, I become part of them, or they become part of me, and it's just very easy to connect. And then other times it's like pulling teeth, and it's harder here, but even if they've had challenges here in this life, it doesn't mean that, they're not okay. Like, that's really important. Sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, because of my child, they passed in this way, through suicide or through drugs or whatever it may be. They worry that their child's not okay, but that's not true. They come and they actually can be some of the highest vibrating souls, but that was part of their lesson here in the physical world.
How do you get the information? Do you see it? Do you see it in your mind's eye? Do you hear it? Clairaudience? I'm not familiar with the terminology. Clairsentience, clairaudience.
Yeah. So I do all of that. When I was young, I used to just see them. So I would like wake up and see them, but I wouldn't hear or understand what they wanted to say until I had to kind of further develop that. So yeah, I do. And it, as I communicate with your loved ones on the other side, it's just like, we all have different ways of learning here, right? So some of us are big time, we have to do it ourselves. And then others we're good listeners, things like that. So each soul I communicate with is very different. Sometimes I'll just hear them. Sometimes I will hear, feel, see them. It depends on their energy, how they can align with me at that time also. And I never know what I'm going to walk into or how they're going to communicate with me. It's always different. But yeah, I do hear.
So it's not a routine. It's something completely. It could be completely. You could just be hearing them and speaking to your ear. Correct.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Like yesterday, I had a little boy that I connected with, and he just showed me images the whole time. And I don't know why. I don't know if he was just, that's just how he can communicate through me. But he just showed me images the entire time.
Right.
But every reading's very different, and so is our communication with them. Yeah.
Do you ever get scared recently? I'm sorry, Art, but do you ever get scared like during a session where you see an image?
No.
I shouldn't even say this. No.
Oh, no.
Okay.
So when I was younger, that fear was there. But again, the more I learned about it, I've learned like this is such a beautiful thing. And I feel blessed and grateful every single time, even if it's a hard one, even if they're, they have passed in a hard way, or they're coming forward to apologize for hard, decisions that they made here. So yeah, no fear.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up. Like you mentioned that you were probably reading, had parents of a lost child. I mean, how does that affect you? Because like I immediately get sad even when you stated something like that. How does that affect your reading? Does it affect your day? I mean, how do you go about that?
Yeah, it's hard not to be affected by that, and I do struggle with that. What I've learned is that it's not in my hands, and I just feel grateful to be that vessel to allow them to feel their loved one in that moment. And I've had to learn that that's all that I can do, and I have to release that and kind of just say a prayer and ask to put it in God's hands and allow them, more importantly, to keep and continue to feel their loved one. Like that's my goal. I want them to feel their loved one in the reading, but my goal is for them to continue to. So hopefully giving them some new tools, or having their loved one validate things that are going to be coming up, or ways that they're going to show that they're going to connect to them. So it does affect me. How can it not? Even if you have someone that comes up to you in the grocery store and they tell you this story, it's sad. It's hard, but also can be very beautiful. I've learned, and it's interesting as a medium though. So if someone comes up to you and they tell you this story and their experience, and we all have had hard experiences in our life, you're affected by that as a human. But then you have the other side of it when you're connecting to their loved ones. I'm not only feeling the person in front of me and their emotions, but I'm also feeling the experiences that their loved one has gone through, and that, their story and what they want to say to their loved ones. And I'm feeling that on a whole side of it. So it's like I'm getting it from both ends, and it is hard to kind of separate. It's something that you learn,
Mm-hmm.
I've always been interested in what mediums' takes are on what the other side is like. Do you have any inclination of what it's like over there? Because we've interviewed people who have had near-death experiences, and it's extraordinarily vivid, but they're all kind of the same, but they're all different all at the same time. What have you felt?
So I definitely don't know all about it, right? I wish I knew more, but I've learned that, as I ask my guides about it and my own loved ones, they show me it's kind of like explaining math to a dog. Like, I'm not going to be able to get this, and I've come to terms with that.
Right.
However, they have given me pieces of it, and it's that we are all one. Our loved ones, as they pass, they can be with all of us at the same time. There is, but they're still learning. Oftentimes they'll come through and they'll show me that. Like, I had a very good friend of mine who had passed, and she came to me with a counselor, and she came and showed me that she's still learning and growing on the other side, and she's still going to see a therapist on the other side.
Wow.
I mean, they're learning and growing like we are. You don't just leave this physical form and stop learning. So it's I get little glimpses, but I don't have a full understanding.
Yeah, explain, Michael, what George Anderson said about the Akashic Records.
I mean, so the idea that there's like a universal subconscious, and every thought, every action that we've had in eons of lifetimes is in there. Are you familiar with the Akashic Records? Do you work with that? I don't know if anyone can even work with them.
I do not know.
Okay.
I don't. I haven't had much experience with it.
Interesting. Yeah, but they say like what you said, we're all one.
Yeah.
That's the Akashic Records.
They say, well, they say it's part of it that, like, I likened it to, I read this great book by this guy, Bob Olson, and he's an investigator, and he investigates mediums, and he kind of calls out if it's baloney or if it's not. And I would like to mention right here in the middle of our show, I had a reading with Lauren, and I could easily say in the top 4 best readings I've had in my life. And I've had hundreds of readings. You were so spot on and so incredible and so calming, cool, and passionate about everything that, like, anyone listening to this in Okon Bros Land, when it goes live, like, get a reading with Lauren. It was mind-blowing. The stuff that you were talking about was so relevant to me, and like, there was no way you could have known. Like, absolutely no way. I digress. So there's a shameless plug, Lauren. How, like, he likened it to that we're all one, we're all part of this light, right? And it's kind of like the ocean. And when the ocean crashes a wave onto the land, that's what a human is. That's what the human form is, that we come to this land as just a wave, and we come on, we're here for a very short time, and then we're pulled back. Have you gotten any kind of like life lessons from the other side that they've said, no, this is what it's all about? Have you heard about any of that? Because, I mean, Eric and I are always looking for the meaning of life. Has any spirit come and said, Lauren, it's all about the archangels or whatever? Like,
oh my gosh, I don't think it's one thing. I learn lessons every day. Every single day they show me something new, and I learn these lessons, and I mean, I've learned so much from the other side and what they've showed. Every day I'm like, they show me, the gratitude, the love and what connects us all. And gosh, I don't know. There's so much. That's a hard question because there's so many layers to that.
All right, so let me expound on it. Do you know about archangels? Do you work with archangels at all? Are you familiar with the archangels?
So I've actually had a few experiences with archangels. Yeah. So
please,
I grew up, went to Catholic school, to religious school. So I had an understanding of archangels in some way, but I never, religion doesn't always resonate with me in that way. And so I didn't really think much about it, but as I've gone through, learning more about my mediumship and diving deeper into it, I've had like major experiences with Michael, and I didn't even know. I had to look him up, and I was like, whoa, this was him. It was the most beautiful being that I've ever seen in my life. I saw him in the middle of my living room. I lost it.
Tell us the story. You walked into your living room. Were you meditating? What happened?
I was actually like sitting and playing with my kids. And then I looked up and I saw this beautiful, like gorgeous man in my living room. And he had these wings, that were almost like he was putting it in. He couldn't even open his wings up fully in my living room. But there was a calmness there and a protection feeling. And that was when I was experiencing some fear in my life. So I do know that he was just letting me know that there is nothing to fear, as far as this goes, and that he's guiding me there. So absolutely. Like, I think that we have archangels that are connected to us. We have guides that are connected to us, and our loved ones, of course. And the more that we ask them for help, the more that we're connected to them. We have to ask them for help.
I would like to, before Michael goes, I'd like to expand on guides. And that's something that I've never really explored. And our mother's a medium, something that she's never really explained or explored either. How do you get in touch with your guide, and what are they there for? I mean, does your guide have a name? Like, how does that whole process work?
Great.
Yeah. So many times people focus on, what is my guide's name and what are they here for? And, tell me their story. And what I've been told by my guides is, yes, I do have specific guides, right, that I've learned over time. But the more I've tried to push that, like, what's your name? Tell me, why are you here? They're like, this is not about me. That's not what you need to know right now. And they'll tell me that when they need to, or if it's helpful to me. The best way to communicate with your guides is, it's a really kind of cool thing. Sometimes people do a calling card. So, you have signs for your loved ones, right? You have certain signs that you can ask your loved ones to give you to let you know that they're around. You can do this for your guides as well. You can ask them for specific signs. Wow. You can ask them for a calling card. So if you do meditate, or if you're driving can be a form of meditation. Something, just doing a repetitive task can be a form of meditation. Walking, gardening, doesn't necessarily have to be just sitting in silence, but in any form of meditation, you can ask them to come and sit with you, or to give you a calling card so that you know that they're with you. Wow. And sometimes it'll be like your hands get a little tingly feeling, or you feel coolness on your neck, or something twitches, and it's always that same twitch. Be a skeptic and say, all right, show it to me again. And you can start forming that communication with them. And I think that's a really good tool for someone that is new or looking to expand their relationship. Say, oh, okay, now I know when they're here, and I can feel that difference. So they can get that to you.
And do different guides do different things?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Like what? Like what? Are they psychics? Do they help you make decision? I mean, do they know the future? Do they how does it work?
Yeah, they definitely see the bigger aspect of things. But I don't know if I would say psychic. I mean, I think they're that all-knowing beings.
They're not archangels though, right, Lauren?
No, guides are different. Yeah, guides are different.
Are they more ascended?
Yeah.
Beings?
Than archangels? Is that what you're saying? So
no, just like our Father is there.
Yeah.
And like he could be our guardian angel, but he's not necessarily a guide. Is there like a different thing? Yeah. So these guides are those who didn't know you here. They're most likely the people who didn't know you here in the physical world, not someone that you would have in a relationship in any form during this lifetime, maybe in previous lifetimes. But they have been with you ever since you're born. They do come in. There's different guides for different reasons. So if you're having a job interview, you can just say a prayer to your guide and say, help me out. My guide that can help me in best representing myself, help me here in this interview. You can ask for these specific things for different guides. Will you, I don't want people listening to this to be frustrated, like, wait, I don't know anything about my guides, or what, right. What kind of guides do I have? I didn't know I had this kind of guide. You don't have to know. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you don't have to know that. You have to trust that. And that's where that magic happens. And that's when you can see what they can do for you.
Have you ever met your guides? Have you seen your guides?
I have, yeah, a few times, but again, it's not something that I don't see them every single day, and again, that they emphasize that importance of that. It's that knowing that they're there. But yeah, I have seen my guides.
Your story about the archangel, I want to jump back and forth here. Your story about the archangel resonates with me. And I didn't talk to you about this when we had our reading. About a year, it was June 2020. I was meditating down by my pool. And mind you, I don't do drugs. I don't drink. Like, I'm not into any psychedelics. And I was meditating by my pool, and literally this thing landed next to me. Like it was a loud foot stomp. And I opened my eyes and I looked up and I looked at this being, and he was gorgeous. He was like, it was like Brad Pitt with angel wings. No baloney. Like he had shorn chest hair. He had big brown eyes. He had brown hair that ended with curls. And he looked at me and it was like a smirk. He looked down at me, he smirked, and it was gone. And he was wearing this brown garb. And I'm like, what the hell did I just, I'm like, I didn't have like a Kahlua today. Like I didn't have like a White Russian today. Like I'm normal. Like it's in the middle of the day. It was in the middle of the day. This thing landed right next to me, and it was calming. It was huge. It was gorgeous. It was cool as hell. And the next day I had a reading with George Anderson. I'm sure you're familiar with George Anderson.
I am.
Medium on Long Island. He's been a family friend for 30 plus years. He's helped us. He's guided us. And the people that have gone to him have passed on. And my dad came through in this one reading. And again, it's 24 hours after I saw this thing. And my dad said, through George, archangels are real, Michael. I asked my dad for the secrets of the universe when he passed. I said, you got to tell us what it's like, because we believe in this stuff. And he said, the archangels are real. The Kabbalah is real. He said, you got to research it. Start asking Raziel to help you. Okay. I Googled Raziel. And I've said this story before on the podcast, but this is exactly the being that landed right next to me in the clothing with the hair and the eyes. This is Raziel. And he was right next to me.
Wow.
And it wasn't scary. I didn't think I was going to be kidnapped or flown away like a hawk catching a snake or something. But like when you said that Michael story, I understood everything that you were saying.
Yeah.
Everything. When you said he was bigger than life, but he was a normal person. Have you, that was one time that you've met an archangel?
Yeah. So that was my main time that I have, like where I've experienced them in that way. A lot of times I'll see them in lights. So I'll see different color, like light or flashes of lights all throughout the day and night. Yeah. But I don't always see them in the physical form.
So do you go to Starbucks and read the lady?
The barista,
barista?
Do I? I have, but not, I try to be really respectful. Look, like this can be kind of like a very emotional thing. So for me to go up and be like, I see your mom, she's standing behind you.
Yes.
It's not something I try to do, in places where I'm very relaxed though. Like I've gotten a massage before and I was like, excuse me, do you mind if I?
Oh my God.
Our mom
I need it. And then I end up not even getting the massage because we just talk. But, so it does happen, but I try to be really respectful of it. And only, sometimes like spirit will help me out. So if their loved one's stepping forward, I'm like, all right, you have to have them come to me or have them ask a question, so.
When our mom's getting her hair done, she said she's like relaxed stage.
She's like, who's Joe? They're showing me a picture next to your nightstand with a man with a mustache and a red shirt. And then all of a sudden the woman starts crying. That's my dad,
Right. Exactly. It's those relaxed states where you're like almost can't help it. No, but I definitely try to be very respectful. But I'm not tuned in all the time. That is, definitely a myth. I am not tuned in. There's kind of a curiosity that comes. So if you're receiving stuff, there's a curiosity that comes. Oh, I wonder. You're not always just receiving it out of the blue, unless it's something really important. Yeah.
How do you turn it off though? Is it like turning off the voice in your head, which is pretty impossible?
It's just kind of, it's just focusing elsewhere. That's what it is. And I've kind of learned to tune it out. I've done that most of my life, so it's just your focus, and it's as easy as that. And I think people think of it as this something else that it's not. It's just changing your focus. And that's what happens when I am ready to read. I don't do any hocus pocus things, it's just like your loved ones are ready to connect with you. They most likely set this thing up in the first place.
Right.
And then all it is the medium is me just changing my focus over there to them.
It legit felt like you were on the phone with my dad and you were like, hold on, Michael, your dad is saying this. Like that was, and normally you don't get that from mediums. Normally the mediums are kind of like grasping and a good medium when they're telling you things and it's out of your control. That a medium is telling you things and you're like, yes, like you're not trying to sway the medium one way or another, but it literally felt like you had my dad on the other line. you're like, hold on, he's telling me something. Yeah, and then this and that, and it's like, yes, 100% yes. What do you say about naysayers? The people who are just targeting you, and the skeptics and the cynics.
I'm okay with it. Like, I'm okay with it. I understand this is not everyone's journey. If you have someone who gets a gift certificate and they're like, hey, I would love for my loved one to see you. It's usually a really beautiful experience, but they also have to be open to it or want it themselves. I am not one to push this on anybody. And so I understand that everyone has different journeys, different paths, and I'm absolutely okay with it. I like skeptics. I like people who are coming in and they're like, yeah, right. Like, I don't believe any of this. And then they're like, what? It is so, it's really beautiful to see that unravel and to see, wow, them just leave, not believing again in me or my ability, but them believing that their loved one, oh my God, they're here. They're with me,
Recently, my life was altered, where there was my life before knowing this and then my life after knowing this. We interviewed Eben Alexander, who had a near-death experience, and he told us during the interview that your thoughts and your memories are not stored in your brain. And I'm like, I never realized that, because now it made sense that when I'm talking to my father through a medium, he knows me. He knows his life that he had. He knows things that are going on now. So that means that your thoughts aren't stored in your brain. They're stored within your soul. That changed everything for me. It just changed everything for me. And I don't really have a question, but I just always like to express that to mediums, that I'm not that intuitive and I want to be. And I'm working on it. And
Lauren knows that, by the way. She told me that. Okay.
I have to disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you there.
Why?
I think that, have you ever heard of claircognizance?
No.
So it's just this knowing.
Right.
And that is the hardest clair to work with, I would say, unless you trust it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a download, that you receive. And I think that that's actually what you may, a big clair of yours is this knowing that comes. Mm-hmm. And it's easy to put that aside or say, oh, that's just my mind, or that's just, I don't even know where I'm getting that, or not to trust that. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's a big part of you. And it's, we all different clairs, we all different ways of learning, ways of working, ways of connecting. Right. Mm-hmm. And for me, when you said, oh, I'm not that intuitive, I actually feel like yours is very naturally there, but it's going to be hard because then your logical mind comes in and second guesses that knowing, and it's easy to do, but that's part of why they're giving you that.
I believe 100% in mediumships. I have a hard time shutting off. I have a hard time turning off my mind, or I'm addicted to electronics and creating content and this podcast and creating content on TikTok and, and just doing all that stuff. So it's very hard for me to shut off. And that when I do, I automatically go and find myself reaching for my phone again. And I think that's my problem, that I'm not able to switch it off. But I do have, when you said that, I kind of got the chills. Where you said Claire thought, was it called?
Claircognizance. So it's just
claircognizance. Yeah. Yes, because there are certain things in my life that I just know. Yeah. That I just know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's going to be okay, or I know that this is going to happen, or I know that we're going to do this. And I'm assuming that's what being a medium is. That it's like taking a sip of water, like you just know. Yeah. Yeah. And getting rid of some habits that, you don't find fulfilling for your soul is definitely helpful in connecting and heightening your connection. But I do believe, some people are like, oh, but I want to connect like that. I don't have that. So I can't connect. Mm-hmm. But the thing is we all have it. I believe we all have it in different
100%.
ways.
100%.
And it's more natural than what you think. It's developing it is great because it's like learning a language. You're better understanding that language, right? You're learning, and it takes time to learn a new language. But at the same time, there's also this naturalness to it. So people put this in like, oh, I have to eat certain things. I have to do certain things to connect. That's not accurate from my experience. It's very natural. Even if you have some bad habits. I mean, I know a lot of mediums that will drink or smoke like all the time and they're fine and they eat like crap and they are phenomenal worldly known mediums.
Right.
Like, so I think there's so much emphasis on, I think it's the thought of, oh, I'm doing these bad things that sometimes also disconnect us from that natural connection we do have.
Do you
That's
meditate,
really
Lauren?
funny.
Do you meditate? Do you recommend meditation?
Oh, heck yeah. So I am a big time meditator. It helps me. I have always had really, strong anxiety. That's also connected to mediumship in a lot of ways if you or your children experience it. But yeah, meditation is key for me. It helps me just kind of slow down, clear my mind, and better connect to myself.
Really?
And the more connected I am with myself, the better I can connect to other people.
Have you ever read any celebrities? I don't want to say that. Has any celebrities come through?
Ooh.
You could be confidential. Just
no, actually, no. I
Really?
have not. I've not had celebrities come through. I've had people who are like, oh, I wanted to know, like, if I can connect with that celebrity. No, like, it usually has to be their family member that I would be connected with. So they won't just come through for fun.
If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
Oh, well, I was an event planner for.
Oh, how do you like that?
Kidding? Really?
Yeah, can you believe that? So very other side of my brain.
Was it corporate events or?
Yeah, well, we would do everything. So it was, lots of like weddings and lots of different types of events with celebrities and things like that. So it was.
That's you don't do that now. You don't do that now.
No. I left that, but my true passion is working with kids, actually. So I'm involved in the helping parents heal. I donate readings to parents who have lost their children. And my outside of mediumship, my draw is always like with kids. So I would have loved to have been a counselor for children, school counselor.
Wow. And
That's great.
Do you do anything with psychology? Like, do you work in that field, like cognitive behavioral therapy and all that stuff?
That's what my degree was in. Yeah.
Really?
So, yeah. So while I was an event planner, I was going to school and doing that. And then this came about. I actually was a caretaker for a very good friend of mine. And we lived together. She got sick. She had leukemia, and I was a caretaker for her. And it was like this really, and then I got pregnant at the same time. It was just like all at once, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is the wrong timing. Why is this happening now? Right. So you're saying that. And then one night I saw her in my living room when I was home. Right. So she was in the hospital and I was home, and I saw her in my living room, and I was like, okay, now I've really lost it. I'm seeing people who are living. I don't understand. And then I go back to bed, and I get a phone call about 15 minutes later that she passed away. And then that was when I was like, oh my gosh, this is something here. Because now I'm seeing people who I knew, and I'm starting to understand that who I'm seeing is people who have passed. And I didn't really understand that before. So that was really life-changing for me. And then I don't even know where I was going with.
No, I mean, my next question before we wrap it up, my next question was going to be, when did you decide to put out your shingle and say, I think I can help people, I can make a living doing this? When was that deciding factor for you? Was it that moment when you saw your friend in your living room?
No, it took a while to do that.
Really?
Yeah, it took a while to do that. I would be working full time, and I have 3 children, and I would come home and I would be like on the phone, and I would be giving free readings. I would just it would be really late at night. I'd put my kids to bed, and then I'd go on the phone and I would just be giving free readings to people, and for a little over a year. And then it started, then it just started snowballing, and people started coming to me, and everyone was like telling other people. And so I had to start doing this more professionally, make more time for it.
Yep. The story that you have compared to our moms is like so similar, except that she just had grown kids and you had little kids. Really, really similar, because she had the same thing where she would read, let's say somebody that worked for her. Then they would say, hey, can you read my sister? Okay, sure. Hey, can you read my neighbor? sure. Hey, then the neighbor would say, hey, can you read my brother? And the mom's like, all right, I'm going to have to start charging for this because
Right.
my time is worth something and I just can't keep reading, because that's how this whole process kind of works, where it's just all recommendation. And then you go along the way where, it's good to, there has to be, I saw this with Thomas John, and he's like, there has to be an exchange for readings where you're giving, you have to collect something in return. It's just, it keeps some type of balance.
Right. And you also get taken advantage of too, because people keep
Right.
coming back and back and back. And
Right.
then so that those boundaries are really important for yourself. For
Lauren, you've told me about the future. Is there ever a time where you see something in the future that you really are scared to tell someone? Do you ever see a car accident or a sick child in the future? Do you ever get those images in your head?
Yeah. So my boundaries, so we have boundaries with the people that we're reading, right? But then I also have boundaries with those who I'm communicating with on the other side. I only want to receive things that, are helpful or healing, or if I'm receiving illness in any way, it has to be something that can be prevented. So I don't feel it's
Amazing.
healing if we can't prevent it, so if I'm seeing, I don't want to see death because I don't feel like that's healing. That's not something
Right.
that we can prevent.
Mhm.
But if it is something that can be prevented, that's when they'll show it to me. And I do feel like that's helpful or healing. So I'm not afraid to say it because I know they're bringing it up for a reason. I know that it can be prevented or helped in some way.
Is it in certain circumstances, isn't death the best answer though? In certain situations, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's just, my goal is never to have someone leave with fear.
mhm.
Right.
And so because of the way that we all think of death, or many people think of death, there's fear associated with that. And so I never want them to leave with that. So I don't receive it. I just won't receive that. It's not something they'll give me of when someone's going to pass or
Right.
anything like that.
That's great.
Yeah. So
But
I don't want to ever create that fear.
So is there a future? Like you told me stuff, and I'm not going to go into details here, but you told me stuff that the path that I'm on, you clearly saw something that's not happening today in February.
Yeah.
You saw something that was going to happen within a year from now. And you were adamant that my dad came through and was like hammered, fist to the palm saying, this is happening. Is there a future that is kind of pre-written? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think some of it is. And then the other side of it is free will, that we have the choice, right? So you can make these changes if you want. But yeah, a lot of this is some of the things are part of your soul's purpose and why you are here. And, the other day I had a woman who came back. I had a reading with her a year prior. And she tells me that, I don't even remember our reading together, but she told me that I had talked to her about having two sets of twins in the family and that there was going to be a third. And she called her sister, and I was like, it's connected to your sister. And she was like, oh, that's really funny. She called her sister. She's like laughing about it, thinking like, absolutely not. A month later, she found out she was pregnant with twins.
Oh my
God. And, so absolutely, like there is that future aspect that our loved ones know about, that they, a lot of things are set in stone, but then there's free will too. And
Right.
I always say that when there's the future that is brought up in a reading, you have free will. Never give that power away to a medium, to a teacher, to anything.
I like that. That's great.
Yeah.
Never give free will away. That's awesome.
Never. And I believe that in any reading that you have, do not give that power away to someone else. You have that free will. So
are there mediums that want to take that away from you though? Are there mediums say, no, it's not going to go good, or it's not going to go the way you want? Do you feel there are people out there that want to take away your free will and kind of implant, in your subconscious that things aren't going to work out for you, for you?
Possibly. I don't know. All the mediums that I've run across are, have really great intentions there and do explain that. But again, you have to have your own judgment. And when you have a reading with a medium, you will feel it. You will feel the difference between something that is authentic and real and something that is not there. And so it is your job to decipher the difference, though. That's your job going into a reading. Does that feel right to me, what this person is saying about what is going to happen? So I use your best judgment there.
That's
great.
incredible.
So,
Yeah.
Lauren, where can people find you?
I am at Lauren Startt, Lauren Start, STARTT.com, and also on Facebook. I do like some giveaways and some videos where I also just share people that I've met and allow them to share their story to kind of help someone else. So those are the two places.
Have you thought about being on TikTok, Lauren? Because you would blow up. You would do amazing on TikTok.
You know what? I am such in a little bubble where I'm not so out there with media or not, just social media. I'm not there. But yeah,
it's a great platform. I have a few posts on there. One of my posts got well over 2 million views. I'm at 14,000 followers as of this moment, and it's growing by 2,000 or 3,000 a day. The eyeballs are there, and there's potential audience there. And if you put out good content, it'll spread your message. So I definitely recommend that you look into it. And plus, I don't know how old your kids are, but they're going to want to be on it too.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Thank you. I'll definitely check it out. I have to set some time aside to do that.
Sure.
Lauren, the reading was amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope you had fun with us. And Eric and I, this platform is yours whenever you need it. You got to write a book. I don't know if you plan on writing a book, but you were one of the best mediums I've ever seen in my life. Really, truly.
Thank you so much. I love what you guys are doing. I love your energy. You guys, thank you so much for having me be part of it.
Everybody, please like, subscribe, and share this interview. Check out LaurenStartt.com with 2 T's at the end. We appreciate everybody tuning in, and tune in next time. See y'all later.
Thank you. Everyone get a reading with Lauren. You will not regret it.
Thank you, guys.
Lauren, hang on one second. We're going to sign off.
Okay.